What's going on, good people? Rich here.
Ray P here.
Hey, I was waiting for that school in the building,
No,
I
me
was
too.
waiting on it too.
Said it in my head. I was like, school in the building. But what's going on, y'all? It's your girl Ray P back for another episode of the Culture Garden podcast. What's going on, Rich?
Hey, slow motion, man. It's a pleasure to be here with you recording, man. I gotta say it one time for the one time. What's happening?
It was
Since it's
happening.
in my head, I got to get the whole thought out. But
There you go. There
as
you
you
go.
can tell, school's not with us, man. He's celebrating his anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to school and his wife Mallory. I
Yes.
hope they're having a great time. We told school it's okay, man. It's okay to take the day off and celebrate your marriage. It's all good.
Sure. I'm
But nah, shout out to shout out to them, man. Much love. But yeah, we're back at it again with another episode of the Culture Garden podcast. We appreciate all of y'all out there, whether you're watching us on YouTube, listening on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, whatever it is, Google. We appreciate y'all. We really do. We thank y'all for continuing to just listen, give us feedback, be a part of this community that we built, Culture Garden family. Thank you. We can't say it enough. Speaking of school, shout out to School's Guilty Pleasure. Just
yeah.
had another episode released on Tuesday. Joyride, 2001 film starring Paul Walker, right before his Fast and Furious fame. So yeah, School's Guilty Pleasure, man. It's a fun time. He had a special guest, Mia, who was on the Candyman episode of the Culture Garden podcast. Shout out to her for just coming in and sharing her love for horror films. She did a really good job, and she loves movies the same way we do. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with her more on some things in the future. I think she'd be perfect for our Marvel DC comic fantasy stuff because that's right in her alley. And Ray like, yeah, I ain't with it. I ain't with it. But now, shout out to her.
Seen Black Panther.
You said, well, yeah, the only one you saw is Black Panther. I know. So it's cool. We got you covered. Yeah, we got you covered, Ray P. Don't worry. Don't worry. If you ever want to dive into the world, just listen to the pod. Whenever it comes out, it'll be sometime in 2024. We'll get that part started. But
Sure.
it's just dope to always have good people around and to be around. Shout out to Mo from Another Week in the Books. He had hit me up and had asked, like, who's the talented, young lady that you had on the Candyman episode? Like, how do you keep finding talented people? And I'm just like, man, this is a blessing. Sometimes when you just do it, walking your passion, I guess,
For sure.
meet certain people, it works out. All the way from, like I said, we just had Mia on school, of course, you know what that is. And as soon as Rachel joined the pod, I felt like Chicago in '84, when Jordan came to town. It just ain't been the same since. It just took off. We got the GOAT.
Yeah.
So it makes this easy each and every week. So shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate you. Speaking of Ray P,
It's me.
it's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you.
Hey.
We got y'all.
We got y'all. It's coming back.
Y'all is coming back.
It's
I'm
time.
hyped.
It's time.
I'm hyped. Rap shit.
I don't have time because I've been all over the place. But rap shit is back, or will be back by the time this comes out. And I need to do a rewatch.
You and me both. I thought about that. I was going to text you that a couple days ago, but then I told myself they're 30-minute episodes. And honestly, by the time we record,
yeah,
I might be able to squeeze them in between work, air quotes, if you're not watching.
For sure.
I think I can knock out a season.
For sure.
I think I can knock out a season, man. But I'm really excited to get started on that with you. Rap shit coming back on Thursday, the same day this episode releases, and we'll have an episode out over the weekend, Monday at the latest, but around that range. Yeah, we'll make sure we get our schedule on point for y'all. Please remember to like, subscribe, share. If you follow the link tree in the description, it will take you to all of these podcasts that I'm discussing. You can view the backlogs, all the archives, everything that we've done in the past. Yeah, we're just growing and getting better and looking forward to this episode today. Before we get into it, there will be spoilers and explicit content. Today's film, if you can tell by the title, is the Inkwell, the 1994. We'll call it a classic. I'm going to call it classic, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the synopsis of the film: a shy, troubled young man who set his own house on fire and has an imaginary friend is sent to a vineyard where he finds himself in the middle of his political arguing, party-loving family and his love torn between two girls. That last line, we'll discuss it a little bit further. As far as the stats go, the film was released April 22nd, 1994, directed by Matty Rich. He directed this at the age of 21, which Ray P, I'm going to bring that up here in a few moments. His debut was a film called Straight Outta Brooklyn. If you've heard of that film, it's probably because we just mentioned it in the Menace to Society episode, as far as that wave of these quote unquote hood movies that came out in the early 90s. The film was written by Trey Ellis and Paris Quallis. There's an interesting story behind that. Had a budget of an estimated $8 million and made $8.8 million.
Just made it.
Just made it, $800,000 profit. $2.3 million opening weekend. It is not streaming anywhere, but it is definitely worth a rent. It's worth the $434, whatever the taxes are on it. Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch. It's very enjoyable watch. No awards that were listed for the film. As far as the cast go, and this is something that school wanted me to specifically say. He's texted Rachel and myself. Lorenz Tate. Mm-hmm. He plays Drew Tate in the film, but he did want to make sure we give him all his flowers. We just did that in Menace. We do it every single time Lorenz is brought up on this podcast.
Yeah.
I think I said on the Menace episode, I believe, that he doesn't get enough credit for his range and what he can do in this film. Rachel, you point to it a lot about his performance in this film, just because of how different it was from the O-Dog character, which is an icon in the culture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got Lorenz Tate as Drew Tate. Joe Morton as Kenny Tate. I want to give him his flowers. Joe Morton is the type. He's the person, or one of the people, should I say? He's the embodiment of why we started this podcast.
Absolutely.
For people who are just insanely talented, who don't get that necessarily mainstream recognition, mm-hmm. but can hang with the best of them. Ironically, we're going to be talking about Joe Morton on next week's episode too, but y'all wait for that. Suzanne Douglas, what can you say about her? We gave her some flowers on Really Love. Absolute legend. Mm-hmm. Going way too soon, but was very enjoyable in this film, and it looked incredible. Suzanne Douglas did an amazing job. Glenn Turman as Spencer Phillips. Mm-hmm. Vanessa Bell Calloway as Frances Phillips. Once again, another legend. This film, Ohio's very own. This film is filled with them.
Absolutely.
We got some great people in this film. Adrian Joy Johnson, better known as AJ Johnson, as Heather Lee. Morris Chestnut as Harold Lee. Jada Pinkett Smith, or Jada Pinkett at the time, as Lauren Kelly. Dwayne Martin as Junior Phillips. Mary Alice as Evelyn. And Phyllis Yvonne Stickney as Dr. Wade. Ray P.
Yes.
For those of y'all who listen all the time, if you're new to this podcast, every week, School, Rachel, and myself will rotate the films. This is your week to choose. Ray P, why'd you pick the Inkwell?
Okay, number one, I fucking love this movie. There is probably only one person, shout out to Jocelyn, who loves this movie as much as I love the Inkwell. And why I picked it is actually, you shouted out Mo earlier, is because of our guest appearance on Another Week in the Books during our Jada Pinkett conversation.
Okay.
Conversation. I believe it was Mo who said, I just miss knowing her for acting. So I'm like, hey, let's shout out Jada for one of her super, super early roles. And this happens to be a movie that is one light, coming off of Menace and Halloween or Candyman, whatever it was. And everything else, let's do something lighthearted, coming of age, quote unquote, and just a really easy, good watch. And it's a movie I haven't seen in a long time. So I was really, really happy to double back. And again, you touched on it. This cast is star-studded. And honestly, we think about how small Black Hollywood, there is such a group. I don't even want to call it a 6 degrees of separation. So let me do this real quick. Glenn Turman, Joe Morton, Mary Alice, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Jada Pinkett, Yvonne
Different world.
Stickney, AJ Johnson, all on a different world. Okay.
Yep, different world.
Then Suzanne Douglas wasn't on a different world, but she was on the Cosby Show, as to which they are all linked. Lorenz Tate wasn't on a different world, but he was in Girls Trip with Jada, two people who have worked together. And then Dwayne Martin wasn't on any of those shows. However, Dwayne Martin was the star in All About Us, which was executive produced and created by Jada Pinkett. Then Dwayne Martin and Morris Chestnut both starred on Out All Night, which came out in the 90s, which was like their breakout. Crazy. All these people are connected.
Listen, you know what you just did is right up my alley. I'm over here like, yeah, let's go, Ray P. Give the people what they want. The 3 degrees of separation.
3 degrees of separation.
Absolutely. You missed one too. The same year, 1994, Suzanne Douglas, Jada Pinkett, Jason's Lyric.
Absolutely. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. There is that world. I know we talk about, especially our era, we talk about that infamous late 90s, early 2000 pool. Morris Chestnut's still in there. Jada, I don't even know if she's necessarily still in that pool per se, but your Nia Longs, your Gabrielle Unions, pretty much anybody you saw on Brown Sugar, Best Man, The Wood in that era was all in that kind of same pot. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But they did an incredible job, and they did a great job of showing them in a regular light. It wasn't, we talked about the era we're in, and this is something Lorenz Tate talked about. Well, before I even get there, let's go back to your 6 degrees of separation, because I just thought of something when I said Lorenz Tate. So Will Smith came on set of the Inkwell.
Okay.
To holler at Jada, but not holler in the way we think. Mind you, this is 1993. He went to set to personally ask Jada to be on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, wow.
And this was the time, we talk about this all the time on the Culture Garden. You were either movies or TV. And at that time, you weren't leaving movies to go do TV. It was just unheard of. That's hustling backwards. So she really went back and forth, and it's different. That's why he had to go in person, like, yo, like, I really want you on the show. Obviously, she turns it down. Nia Long gets the part. The rest, as they say, is history. Even beyond that.
Cameo.
You said what?
Jada does do a cameo.
Yeah, she does a cameo, but he wanted her to be Lisa.
Okay.
He wanted her to be Lisa. And obviously, they ended up being married.
Yeah. Dwayne Martin also appeared on an episode of The Fresh Prince. Go ahead.
Dwayne Martin.
And Will Smith are best friends.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's take it to house party.
Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay.
AJ Johnson. AJ Johnson's in this film. Guess who visits her on set?
Martin.
Tisha Campbell. Guess who hits it off on set of the Inkwell? Tisha Campbell, Dwayne Martin. Guess who gets married?
Oh, damn.
Where the hell are y'all getting content like this anywhere else?
Connectedness. You know connectedness.
I'm just saying, man, it all came together. It all came together.
Absolutely.
But I was going to make the point of Lorenz Tate, and he was talking about how studios, and we mentioned the budget, $8.8 million, $8 million budget, gross 8.8. 1994, studios didn't know how to market a regular Black movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it didn't involve murder, turmoil, some kind of drama, drugs, that whole vein, they didn't know how to actually sell that. So they didn't promote it. You see a similar thing with Crooklyn, which I'm going to mention a couple more times. I mean, shout out to Christine, shout out to AJ, shout out to Mia. I've heard all of your complaints about Crooklyn and the take on it. I get it. But we have to compare them, because I can't help but see the the man version of Crooklyn as far as the coming of age. Different movies, same idea. I said it before. Crooklyn just wasn't. We were just kind of dropped in the world without any explanation and just kind of walked this life. There was no end game. There was nothing we were really supposed to learn or take away from it other than what we gathered as our own in our own individual thoughts, which is art. That's what it's for. This was more of a story. There was a first act, second act, third act. We want
Yeah.
to see what happens with this character because we know where he starts and how it needs to end,
Yeah.
how it should end, or whatever you want to call it. So they're a little bit different in that sense. But I do see the comparison between them. Is it a classic or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it
100%.
could just be my bias, but this is a classic Black coming of age, again, movie, cast, performance. It holds up. It's still good.
It's still good,
It's still
especially
good.
being based in 1976. This
Mhm.
film it came out in 94, based in 76. It still holds up. You can still watch this. I watched this multiple times, like in the past couple of days, just getting ready for it. Not
Yeah.
because I needed to continue to take notes. I just enjoyed certain moments of the film.
Good.
And I have a
It's
personal tie to it just watching the story. I'm going to say it's a classic. I think you will probably consider it overall as a cult classic.
yeah.
Um, I think that's fair, but those who love it, and we'll
Abs-
defend it to the end. And we'll
absolutely.
get on people's head like, why do you not why are you not watching this movie more?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's lights perfect. We had the new category better than the last movie, which isn't necessarily fair because the last movie was Candyman. Neither one of us, as much as I enjoyed the episode and the conversation, neither one of us are really horror movie people.
Yeah.
So I want to see if you think it's better than Crooklyn.
The Inkwell? Yes.
And like I say it all the time, comparisons, The Thief of Joy. I'm not trying to do that, but I did compare the couple movies, and I wanted to see what your thought was. I want to shift it somewhere else.
Okay.
You can't necessarily say they're the same, but they have kind of a similar undertone. Is the Inkwell better than Eve's Bayou?
No.
I
No.
understand the pause. I understand the pause. It's not.
It's
It's
not.
not. When you really look at it, it's not.
Yeah.
But it makes you think.
But it makes you think it's so good. And they're two different feelings that both films evoke. But I'm going to say no. Just because the writing, the stories is just a little bit more in Eve's Bayou, but the performances are stellar across the board in both films.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that take. It like I said, I understand the pause. I got to give it to Eve's Bayou for that moment. We still really haven't seen another movie like Eve's Bayou.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's in its own special category in place. It's a great movie. So let's talk about the origin of this film.
Okay.
First and foremost, let's talk about the Inkwell itself,
Mhm.
which is a real place. It's a strip of a beach located in Oak Bluffs, which is part of Martha's Vineyard,
Mhm.
Massachusetts. When you think of the Inkwell, you're thinking of the 1890s. You hear Spencer talk about it in the film. You know, Black people started coming on this beach at the turn of the century.
Mhm.
The talented 10th, you know, your uppity bourgeois. Yep, exactly. Your as Kenny like to say, your bourgeois jungle bunnies. I don't know what he called them. Either way, he ain't like these niggas. But that's what that is a real piece of area. And obviously the town of Oak Bluff was not segregated, but the beach kind of was. So colored people, this is your color section, Inkwell, that's where the name comes from. It was greenlit in 1992.
Mhm.
I mentioned Ellis, who what's his first name? Trey Ellis, excuse me, who wrote the film. All right, this is his story. He wanted to direct the film. And this is a Disney film. I don't know if you
Oh,
hip or most people, if
I know
that's
that.
common knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah. Disney's the one who put this out, similar to Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman's a Disney movie too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wanted to direct it. It's a semi-autobiographical story for him, a la Eve's Bayou. But he had a much different vision and a much different screenplay.
Mhm.
Disney was pushing Rich, who was, you know, Matty Rich, who had just done Straight Outta Brooklyn, was in that vein of Spike Lee, John Singleton, young Black directors.
Mhm.
And of course, the first thing that Ellis thought was, this nigga 21.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, Ray P, do you think the fact that he was 4 years old in 1976 do you think the movie could have been enhanced had you got someone who was of age in 1976 that might have been able to tell the story or emulate the time a little bit better?
Honestly, I'm going to say no,
Mm-hmm.
only because the story, it's still this same exact story could have still been 1994.
Still be 2023.
Yeah, there was nothing, and correct me if I'm wrong, as many times as I've seen it in the past and even in preparation, there's nothing other than the costuming and the dancing that is solely relegated to the 70s. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
This could be now, we could do this same thing, same caliber of cast now, and not change the script other than like updating the lingo, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that matters so much because the time of the movie isn't like a character of the movie like the area of itself is.
Yeah, I swear we on the same page because that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say we talk a lot about characters, like whether it's cities, eras, being a character in the film, and that didn't serve me for this. Like
Yeah.
you said it perfectly. This could have been told in any kind of era. You can make this movie every 10 to 15 years if you really wanted to. I'm
Mhm.
not saying it'll be as good, but you just adjust it to whatever is going on in the current times. And today's version will have something to do with social media and your self-esteem and all of that. You can flip all of this. So I
Absolutely.
don't think it had anything to do with it. I do understand the idea of probably being slighted. Like, bro, I spent 2 years on this script.
Yeah.
It's loosely based on my life and my experiences. I want to direct it, and I'm cool with not directing it. He said he was cool with not directing it, but don't get this young, and maybe it's part of it. Don't get this young dude in here.
Yeah, for
I want
sure.
to get somebody I can learn from, not necessarily him. And he said their first meeting, Ellis. When I say he, Ellis said their first meeting. Matty Rich said, "Hey, I like the script. I love it." And as soon as Ellis had to give I think this is an interesting caveat. Ellis had to give the final approval for the director since
Mm,
it's his story. So he
mhm.
pretty much, Matty Rich came in and put that charm on him, let him know, yeah, I'm all board. Let's do it. As soon as that deal was signed, sent in some rewrites. He said the family wasn't black enough, which Trey Ellis says he thinks that he meant it wasn't stereotypically black enough. There were
Mhm.
some rewrites that Matty Rich did where Kenny was, saying motherfucker and he was drinking Coke 45s and just kind of being a for lack of better
Stereotype.
terms. Exactly. He was being that. And it got to the point where Trey Ellis was like, this ain't my movie, this ain't my story, I'm out. And he got replaced. So the other writer that I mentioned for the screenplay, Paris Quallis, he came in and did some of the rewrites.
Mhm.
There, depending on who you ask, they can tell you what was good and what wasn't good with the film. A lot of people said, the characters were cool, the story needed some help. Some people said the story was cool, the characters needed some help. I think they did a great job, but I am curious to know what they would have done if everybody was on the same page and cohesive.
I hmm, I'm in agreement with you. I think they both hold up well. And
I got
as
something for you. Not finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. But I got something for you that I really want to get your thoughts on from the
oh,
original script to what we saw in the film.
okay. As somebody who understands and speaks black bourgeoisie very well, I think they got it spot on.
They
They
Rachel,
nailed it.
Rachel,
Yes.
dare I say, if we really sat down and made a list, top three, top five,
Mhm.
this is right. This is they nailed it. And this
They
is 76. This is that fresh bourgeois
Yeah.
Negro.
And the juxtaposition against, again, 76 against the Black Panther coming off
Mhm.
of his work with the party, I think they nailed it. I don't know.
Look at how we talk about black Republicans today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine that shit when the Black Panther Party and all
Mhm.
of these, this movement that was happening in the 60s, 70s
Yeah.
was going on. Like that had to be, and he said it, you have to know how to fight. But that's just an interesting thing that they dove into with this film. All
Absolutely.
right. So here's what I think. I'm not speaking for Trey Ellis. I can't speak for him. But here's what I think his major beef was with this film.
Mm-hmm.
It's semi-autobiographical, which makes me believe that he's Drew.
Yes.
Iago, the wooden doll, was originally written as a family Dalmatian. It's Drew's best friend, man, and his best friend.
His best friend. Okay.
I believe that he felt, once again, for lack of better terms, that they weirded Drew out too
Too
much.
much.
He said his original script was supposed to be about a young teen finding love and coming into that part of his life,
Mm-hmm.
and they added on all this other stuff. You know, the quirkiness, and who knows how quirky he would have been,
Mm-hmm.
but the burning down the house, all of this stuff was added in. And I thought that was just a very interesting tidbit that somehow they got changed. He even was quoted saying, Trey Ellis hated this movie. When the film was coming out, he was going on a promo tour saying this shit's trash. For
Oh wow.
which I feel a kind of a way about, but I see both sides. This is my
Yeah.
story, this is my
That's
life, this is my movie. Y'all butchered it.
it. Yeah.
But on the other end, there's a lot of people who put a lot of time, effort. That doesn't discredit their work on the film and the end result, because this wasn't well received. Critics didn't like it when it came out.
Yeah. I could
It
see
was
that.
actually it was our generation, Rachel, that really made this film what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Once it started getting that syndication, once we reached Drew's age and all of them, we
Yeah.
were kind of the ones that said, oh, yeah, the Inkwell, this is shit. How did y'all sleep on this in 94?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just interesting stuff, man, how these movies come about and everything else. So, as far as first experiences, do you remember the first time you saw it?
I do again. So my friend Jocelyn, I watched it at her house. So you said on syndications, because I don't remember her having a tape of it at all. But I feel like, and now that you say Disney Channel, it's a Disney movie, it did used to come on a Disney Channel. And so the first time I saw it was with her at her house, and then I just watched it repeatedly.
Yeah. So it was like at first sight. How
Yeah,
old were you? You said?
young.
Yes. Man.
We weren't teenagers. We
Okay.
weren't teenagers. I don't remember how old we were, but maybe 10-ish, 10, 12. And 12
Okay.
I really want to say closer to 10. Yeah.
So okay, you got a younger version than this. This is 85. School would famously say this is an 85 classic for me.
Okay.
Our grandparents' house. This is something that when I say every day when I got off that bus, Disney Channel was on. Disney Channel was on.
Yeah.
Whether it was Growing Pains, Even Stevens, all of that stuff. I watched everything, and they would have the movies on, and that's when I got hip. I was a little bit older. I was probably about 13.
Okay.
This was like 7th, 8th grade for me, but I instantly could relate to just being in that part of your life. And
Yeah.
I love being dropped back into my teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew is an interesting character because I relate to him, but I don't relate to him.
Mm-hmm.
I relate to him in the sense of everyone has a point where they're really trying to find themselves. Everyone has a point of their lives, whether it be 2 weeks, whether it be a year, just that coming of age moment, that one part of your life where you transition from the adolescence to, all right, I'm about to be a man.
Yeah.
Like 8th grade was that that was something happened between 7th and 8th grade for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just different. And then I think again, once I became a junior in high school, it changed again.
Okay.
Like there's these transitions, and you saw what that looks like firsthand for Drew. And he's a completely different person by the time this film ends than what he was at the beginning, but he's still the same mild manner. Like it didn't destroy him. His
Yeah.
pain didn't destroy him
Mm-hmm.
from what we saw, and a lot of us, if you've ever been through any kind of heartbreak or pain like that, what Lauren Kelly was doing to him, that could turn you into a dog.
For sure. For
But
sure.
Drew kept his naivete.
It's men still holding on to their 7th grade heartbreak at 37.
Yeah, we've all had a Lauren Kelly. I'm low-key glad School's not here right now, because right now he's probably thinking of Jay-Z's song Cry. I'm not gonna say anything else past that.
Oh,
He
Lord.
knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's getting weak listening to it. But we've all had a Lauren Kelly. Like, trust me, we all had one. Hopefully they were in your teenage years and you still ain't chasing Lauren. But they out there for sure. for sure. The father son bond.
Mhm.
The one thing I really love about this film is, you know, the older we get, the less first experiences we get. We have to really work to get new first experiences,
Yeah.
whether it's traveling, going to new places, trying new restaurants, all of that. When you're growing up, everything's first experiences. When you're a teenager, you're getting a ton of it, right? And one
Mhm.
of the first experiences, and probably because I'm not a parent, I know you're not a parent either, is parenting. Like
Yeah.
that is the first experience. So there's no rule book for it. I have so much more respect for my parents as I get older because,
Absolutely.
nigga, I'm struggling. Nigga,
And
how'd y'all do this? You feel me? How'd y'all do this and really like maintain yourself? You have to sacrifice a part of yourself for it. And I've always thought, I never took the time to think about a man wanting a son
Mhm.
and then getting a son and
And he's
having
legit.
certain expectations of what that son is going to be,
Yeah.
and then he's not that. And
Yeah.
how do you transition into that? How do you build that bond? How do you still show that that's my nigga when you don't know how to do that? And I think this film did a great job of that.
Absolutely. I think about that a lot, where we see it in real life, where there are these social butterfly parents and just extroverted people's people, your niggas. And then
Mm-hmm.
they have these kids who are just the total opposite, trying to figure out how to navigate and relate. And you look at your kids, I'm not going to name any names, but and you be like, damn, I wouldn't hang out with them, if we were the same age, like they wouldn't be in my friend group.
Yeah.
In reconciling with yourself, how do I one relate to this? How do I still show my child or children that I love them despite them being different from me? And how do I
Mm-hmm.
check myself, and
Yeah.
check that expectation and not show disappointment that they're not who I painted them to be or who I imagined them to be, wanted them
Yeah.
to in my head, it's tough. Shout
Yeah.
out to
It's
you navigating that.
yeah, it's very tough because we as a whole, I think as a community, we grow up in a dictatorship.
Yeah.
It's we weren't raised to have voices per se. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
I think all of us probably had our own serious talks, and our parents, had those moments. But overall, it's my way or the highway. This is my shit.
That's it.
So parents don't know how to. I don't. He said it Kenny said it in the movie. I don't understand why he's not causing trouble or chasing girls, but there's also something where Kenny was failed because he doesn't know how to lean into the gadgets and lean into the uh
Othello.
all the idiosyncrasies that Drew has, and maybe I can open his world a little bit more. I see he's drawn to this. Let's see where this takes him.
Yeah.
And that's a no. That's levels of unlocking,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
maturity. That's levels of breaking trauma bond or not trauma bonds, but generational
Generational.
trauma and curses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a man. You can go really deep with all
This
of this, but it's a
Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
said, this is what I will say in relation to the timing or the era of this. In the 70s, again, Kenny is a former or current-ish Black Panther. The expectation is for you to be stoic and, dare I say, militant, just because of what you come from and what's going on in society. And here is this child who is just free, that Kenny can't reconcile that. And just think about how maybe he was raised, because the men of that era, he was grown in 76, but even the people who were children coming up, they very different than how we are now, and sort of the expectation of parents.
Mm-hmm.
But like, those men have a hard time already with connecting emotionally to their
Yeah.
children. It's a hard wrought fight to get your 75-year-old uncle or father, grandfather to hug you and not shake your hand when they greet you as a young man. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Absolutely.
very tricky.
You spot on. You spot on with that, and it progresses with time. That's the
Mhm.
good thing, and hopefully we continue to do so.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing with that is the older, whoever's the oldest generation, has to be the ones leading that charge and
Mhm.
showing that it is okay. Like you said, Ray, there are still some hardened men that just this is what men do. This is
Absolutely.
how we operate, and sometimes it's okay to hey man, give me a hug, my nigga. Like you ain't got to hold all that in. You good? You my
My
dog, man.
dad, he's crazy.
Yeah, like and that's just something that's in them. You can't break it.
You
It's
can't, and that's it. And
yeah,
once you have some understanding about yourself, you like you don't even take it personally because that's just
yeah, yeah.
what it
Get to
is.
know your peoples, man. Get to understand.
As best you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. The last thing I'll say before we start jumping into scenes and categories, one thing that we don't talk about a ton,
Mhm.
we talk about class and division. We talk about all the injustices that we've endured
Mhm.
since the time we've stepped foot on this land. We don't talk about necessarily how we do it to each other.
For sure. For
You know
sure.
what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And there's a black class and there's a black elite
Absolutely.
that will look at other black people a certain way, and
Absolutely.
it's a exclusive club,
Mhm.
and people who get there, if you work for it, you probably hold on to it a little bit tighter.
Mhm.
And you see that seeping throughout this entire film. You see who mom gravitates towards.
Mhm.
You see how Kenny is viewed, how he's referred to.
Yeah.
You see everybody on the beach. You see that even the kids, they
Mhm.
just live a different life.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. It's hard to fit in if you're not from there, and I guess that's the most troubling thing. You can't. It's hard to fit in if you're not from
If you're not from that world. I was gonna put on my Martha's Vineyard shirt, but I couldn't
there.
I couldn't find it.
I got a. I about to say, I got a Vineyard T-shirt as well.
Yeah, I've not been to the vineyard, but my parents brought it back as
Big
a
sis brought mine back, man. We wanted to say, right? Big sis brought mine back. I'll be out here stunting.
so living vicariously. And then that's the other thing when thinking of the vineyard, jumping the broom, that's where they were. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I started off with this saying, I speak Black bourgeoisie very well. I know it. It's tangible to me. It's familiar. It's a relatable story. And also on the flip side, so it's the niggas, proud Black. So I think for me, maybe this movie was not really autobiographical because never been a weird girl, but but I could relate to the meshing of two very different cultures, um,
mm-hmm.
all within the same family.
I, I understand that
It's
completely.
tricky.
I understand that completely because I
Yeah.
think that's something we share.
Mhm.
You and I, just somebody who's known you for a very long time. I think both of us have a skill of being able to be comfortable in any room.
Mhm.
Whether we want to be in the room or not is a different question.
Yeah.
But we can manage and navigate and get in and get out how we need to. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting life to live.
Code
Go
switching
ahead.
is not just for your corporate America. Sometimes
It's really not.
sometimes it's one side of the family versus the other.
You said it best, and that rolls right into
Yeah.
that rolls perfectly into best scenes. The first scene that I have written down is that first beach experience
Okay.
when Spencer and Kenny and everybody else is around the beach, and they're talking about when black people started rolling into the beach and the bourgeois versus the real, who's down with the brother man. Isn't this the other side? Isn't this what the struggle was about? So we can have our own section of the beach,
Mm.
that American dream. You get what I'm saying? And it
For
just
sure.
the fundamental roots, Rachel,
Mhm.
the fundamental root of why, and I mean this seriously, of why there's really not a ton of progress as there needs to be in these type of conversations is because niggas don't give a fuck.
That part.
Right? Nobody cares about your problems. I got my own shit and I got my own shit I'm trying to maintain.
Mhm.
So when Kenny yells out, like, what about the people who can't have it? Where's
Yeah.
their Inkwell? And this nigga jokingly says, Coney Island. That nigga laughed that off because he doesn't care. And
And
I
he
don't
means
get in
it.
the yeah, he just didn't care. Like it's okay. Like I have my life. My life has nothing to do with you and whatever else is going on out there. I'm gonna make a joke about it because in my mind, I deserve this. I earned this.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna do anything to reach down to help y'all niggas come up.
I'll take it a step further, and not even that I won't reach down and help you. It's how far am I going to reach down? You know what I'm saying? Because there's probably some upwardly mobile but lower quote unquote class young black kid that Spencer might have been able to take under his wing, but it would all be a condition of me seeing myself in you, or truly believing that you could be successful and be on this path. You know what I'm saying? Ugh. Bootstraps.
Yeah.
Bootstrap blacks.
I want to. There's not a single character whose backstory I want more than Spencer's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like out of anybody in this film. We'll get to another thing and things that bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, I want Spencer's backstory. I want to know how he became who he was, what he actually. I know he's a politician,
Yeah.
all of that. Like I want
Love
to see his
born into it, or a
I
bootstrap.
want to see I want to see his vulnerable moments. I want to see if he's really like that, or if he holds a weight and if everything that Kenny says that he gets from all black people for the most part. I wonder if that really weighs down on him. I want to know more about Spencer. He's a very interesting character. All right, Ray, what you got for your next scene?
Actually, that was my second, but so my first scene was the intro in general. Before we get to the beach, it's us up in upstate New York, meeting the Tates, seeing who they are, and then once they even get to the island, is seeing who Spencer and them are. Just because I feel like I always start with the intros to a movie, but figuring out or meeting characters is so important to me because it literally tells the story of the rest of the film. No matter what else happens, your first introduction to somebody is so important because it's always going to be key to whatever plot rising and falling actions happen in the movie. So I started there.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. There were so many that I didn't add it in.
Yeah.
But I probably say it every episode. I usually love all character introductions. I love nothing more than when you tell me exactly who this person is.
Absolutely.
And we got a good idea of that. The next scene is going to be just brief. Junior's friends coming to pick them up for that first dance.
Mm-hmm.
For one, Dwayne Martin's dance moves, right? Like specifically two in mind. When he comes down them steps and he hits that little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And gets in the car, and then when he's at the dance and all that, you know what I mean? I'm Ray. I know you're gonna be like, what's that move again? I ain't doing that shit.
I wasn't gonna do it today.
But I just thought that was it captured the times when people actually used to go out, kick it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how they're socialized. I love seeing that. And also, don't mess with my family, bro.
Yeah.
Like don't this is my fam. Yeah, he's coming. Like that's my don't play with me. Like I know I'm the don't play with me, bro.
Yeah. But consider this, not just that Drew is very visibly weird, you know. Consider he also isn't he a little younger than Junior? They're not quite the same age.
They have to. I was gonna ask you that. How old is Junior? All right. So they mentioned
Drew is.
They mentioned school starts in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still in high school. So I'm assuming he's about to be 18. Like this is coming out his senior year. It has to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
always
because again, Drew was on a bike in Kendall, New York versus Massachusetts, even in New York, you know, but Junior's and his friends are driving. So I assume maybe at least a year difference.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Definitely younger. He gave me younger cousin
The little
vibes.
cousin. So the little cousin's always gonna get a little something, something like, this little nigga. And he weird.
Right.
Come on, dog.
Yeah, nah, that's real. That's real. Uh, one last thing. Junior's dancing in that scene. It reminded me of the Kiki Palmer video that you posted maybe a month or so ago. A
Mm,
dream date sitting across from a real nigga. The
period.
dancing she did in that video was hilarious. And that always reminds me of that.
She's
What you got for your what you got for your next scene, man?
okay. I'm back on the beach. I got Drew in the seashells just because he's crazy. But Kenny and Spencer, their first fight on that beach, talking about Drew and what he's got going on. And then this is where we really see that Kenny and Brenda have some tension between the two of them, even though that is birthed or exposed because of the fight or the disagreement between Spencer and Kenny. And we learn even from here that this is going to be a constant battle and how this is affecting the rest of the family and how Drew's actions or lack thereof are affecting and weighing on uh Brenda and Kenny's relationship. So just because it's like, damn, she low-key actually dogged him on the beach, like, you can't relate to your son and you can't take this dashiki off, nigga. And it sounds like you ain't got no bread.
Hey,
So what
listen.
am I doing here? And I'm with my sister, her rich ass house on the vineyard. My mama don't like me because I'm with you, the Black Panther, who she only refers to you as that throughout the whole movie. Are you in the
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther fighting? Where's the Black Panther? Like Mary Alice is crazy.
Crazy.
So I just love that just because again, the layers that this film has. Go ahead.
Rachel.
Yes.
She told this nigga, I'm not chasing you, Kenny. And this nigga took off like Shakari.
And he ran. He
He
ran.
ran when she said that. I'm like, he the illest nigga alive.
This nigga's crazy.
But that's how a lot of us are when we get hit with that truth. When that mirror is turned back against us,
For sure.
there's a certain expectation that every couple has
Mm-hmm.
amongst themselves. And when you dishonor it, whatever it is that they agreed to,
Yeah.
it's okay for someone to say, hey, I need a little bit more out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Niggas don't want to be hit with that. And a lot of times, as we've seen, that reaction is when not only are they right, but I don't like the place that I'm in right now.
Yeah, for
You know what
sure.
I mean? They calling me a Black Panther and saying I work the copy machine because that's true. That's really all I got. Like, what's my next step? What's
Yeah.
my next level? How can I connect more and make more of an impact? So I like that scene too. I love it. I love it. Drew going to Dr. Wade's.
Okay.
Not necessarily the first time, the first family visit, but when he goes back on his own, she calls and says she wanted to see him.
I got both of those.
Yeah, I'd imagine you would.
Mm-hmm.
Drew just needed someone to see him.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't get more simple than that. Drew just needed someone to see him to recognize that he is different. And that doesn't mean that defines who you are. It just means we all got our own quirks. They
Mm-hmm.
don't stand out as much as you, Drew. Like, we don't have Iagos and we're not talking to Wooden at
No,
16. You know, that's a little bit of odd behavior. We're probably not wearing seashells over our eyes and making corny jokes.
seashells.
Yeah, we're probably not sitting in the back of the van and scaring auntie like that because why? At 16, you just are expected to be out of that.
Yeah.
But he was still seen for who he was, regardless of how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. Like, you being who you are is one of the dopest things about you.
Absolutely.
And it got him to be comfortable and get to the root of it. Like, no, I didn't try to burn my house down on purpose. Like, I wouldn't do that. I was trying to make some rocket fuel. Stuff that we might find a little bit odd. But you weren't. Yeah, we knew that you didn't. I think there was an underlying thing of is our son off? Like,
Okay.
is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, is he okay? Like, did he try to burn our house down? Like,
Right.
this is a real concern. You know, it's hard to raise good citizens.
Absolutely. As to which
So
Spencer and them had that very same question.
Yeah, and of course the best part of that saying to me, or the message of it, was when Dr. Wade said, "I know sometimes it seems as though people don't appreciate you for who you are right now, but the ones who really count, they'll catch on." And that's
Ab-
something I say all the time to people, like, bro, the people that really fuck with you will never, nothing you do will ever deter that. Sometimes it's a blessing to get people out of your life,
Absolutely.
for certain things. So I love that entire scene.
For sure. I'll backtrack just a little bit and just brush over just the club and the party because again, it reminded me of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
What's the face first went to his first dance. Well, Mike went to his first dance.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you see the awkwardness, but Drew was still having fun. He wasn't deterred by
I,
homegirl saying, "What you went on the bus?"
I fuck with Drew. I fuck with Drew.
As awkward and quirky as he was, there was still a level of confidence that Drew had that I don't think that Junior and the rest of the fellas had. Like they were afraid of being embarrassed, where Drew is not. Even
Yeah.
on the beach where Drew speaks to Lauren Kelly for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
where Junior is like, man, she like that with everybody. He's written her off, and she is a bougie bitch, whatever. But Drew wasn't put off by her hard exterior. He just was like, oh no, she was cool. And you know what? I fuck with Drew for being like that. So I just
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about Drew. He doesn't. I've said it before. There's this naivete about him that he doesn't even understand awkwardness, and he carries around a wood. He understands that people think that's weird. So that's a perfect example of him recognizing, oh, most people think this is odd. Let me keep this hidden.
yeah,
Versus his gadgets and his bike and all the whistles and gadgets and bells. That's cool to him,
yeah.
and nobody can tell him differently. I don't care if you don't think it's cool. It's cool to me,
It's
and
cool
he
to me.
carries that with him. And
Mhm.
listen, there's not too many people that can take that much embarrassment, and it just shows the conditioning. You're
Yeah,
conditioned to be a certain way when you look at Junior, but
yeah.
Drew never picked up on that. So absolutely, Drew was a genuine dude, man. We'll talk a little bit about more when
He's
we
so
get to
endearing.
scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a genuinely the stereotypical. This is who I would want my daughter to date. Once we figure out that you cool,
For sure. For sure.
somebody with your morals and values. Let's put it like that.
Absolutely.
My
Absolutely.
next my next scene, and this is really, I think the Dr. Ward scene, that second one,
Hmm.
is when the film really just, I mean, you scene after scene. You can literally list every single scene after this.
Yeah.
But the father son fishing,
Hmm. Hmm.
you guys who listen know like how much my pops meant, and just those moments. And even if it wasn't that, I'm just a fan of reaching down to the next generation. And you saw Kenny trying.
Yeah.
Even when there was a certain thing about the tone in his voice that said, "Well, how you feeling?" He said, "You mean now?" Or in general, he said, "Come on, man, don't do that to me. Like I'm really trying to talk to you here, and I really want to get to know you a little bit better." He even mentioned that in the very first scene, Rachel, when he thought that when he thought Drew was in bed, he
Yeah.
was like, "Look, I'm not trying to go either. They got a beach. Maybe we can spend some of that time together. Like
Mhm.
I want to connect with you, son, because I don't understand you and I don't know you." And there's always the classic, I won't say always because not everybody gets that, but I had the sex talk pretty much with Pops. Mine was, I'll get a little anecdotal. Pops found a porn stash.
Okay.
I had some penthouse magazines under my mattress.
Hmm.
And I remember Pops, I had to be in middle school because Pops picked me up from my grandparents. And we was
Hmm.
driving for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, regular conversation. Nigga pulls the shit out and hands them to me. I'm like, oh man. And it was just a real cool, like, listen, if you want to talk about sex, we can talk about sex. Like, this is not sex, right?
Yeah.
This is it was like a spread of this woman in some blue paint. It was weird. I just remember that shit. And I remember it because he specifically said, like, sex isn't women in blue paint and this and that. If you want to talk about this, we can talk about this. Like this, and it wasn't anything to be embarrassed about. At first, it was like, damn, Pop's family porn, but it was like, listen, my nigga, you at that age,
changing.
Like, yeah, I get it. But there's a certain way to go about it. Like, don't. Yeah. This ain't the route, especially early on. Like and I just remember that, and I remember having just those moments that you can only get from your pops or your OG or whoever serves as that role. So just that it is as a whole always hits hard to me because they got somewhere. You saw that bond. You saw, all right, this is father son. I loved it more for Kenny than I did for Drew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was the first time we saw him be like, I don't want to say proud of Drew, but like genuinely connected to Drew. You mentioned that he was trying, but this is the first time where the trying actually succeeded. Like the plan came together for the first time here on the water.
Yeah, he could understand. We finally found something we can understand together.
Yeah.
What you got, Ray?
I don't know. I was just harking. My sex talk was, all you get is a soft dick and a wet ass. So.
Hey man, shout out to OG RP.
Yeah, and you know exactly that's who it was from.
I know exactly who it was from, man. Come on, man.
RP is crazy. So that also lets you know which side of the family is.
Oh shit, man. What's your next scene, man?
You already touched on both therapy sessions. Just a quick going to the nude beach. If you've ever been to a nude beach, it's not at all what you have imagined. It very like Jungle Beach. It's not the hot, sexy bodies. I mean, whatever body you have is hot and sexy. Don't let me say it like that. But they had condoms. They were ready for it to just be this whole thing. And it's just that. It's just not that. It's never that, y'all, unless you're at like hedonism or something.
Yeah, they're not. People who go to nude beach likely aren't trying to fuck. They they want to be free,
baby. That's it.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. You did Kenny and Drew on the boat. I'll go to Drew and Lauren's date. I love that so much. Again,
let's talk about it.
This is Lauren after spotting Drew having Heather on the back of her bike. Like, she's a jealous bitch. Like,
she did the same thing at the beach when she saw her old dude.
Exactly. So, she calls the house. Drew, how you even knew where Lauren lived was crazy because I know he didn't call her back. Like, he just ran to her house. I didn't recall them passing her house at any point prior to that. But, they went to the arcade. This nigga jumped in a lake or the ocean and got a lobster out of one of the traps, like cooked it. They had a real cool ass free-ish first date, and it was all day. It's nothing like an all-day date where it just transitions into so many different things. And again, as different as they are, opposites attract. Lauren was actually feeling that nigga. Like, once she dropped that persona and was just, dare I say, herself, just cool, she this nigga Drew. Like, they were having a good time. She was relating to him on a parental trip. She was vulnerable about it just being her and her mom. Like, it was a good ass day. It was good to see Drew with just like a little bit of swag about him, like just taking it all in. Again, that quiet, quirky confidence that just really, really worked.
Okay. Of course, I have this scene down.
Yes.
I love the date itself.
A
couple things. All right.
Okay.
There's, for one, and this has nothing to do with Lauren. We'll get to her in a second. There is nothing like getting that call from that girl you really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And also, everybody has those moments where you outkick your coverage
Mm-hmm.
and you really know, like, I ain't even supposed to be in this situation. She calling me. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm really about to take advantage and just that excited, just being that excited.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how cool I am now. I would get that excited.
Yeah.
If a certain girl is 16, hit me up. Like, you wanna hang out? Hell yeah, let's do it. And you stumbling, knocking down her door. He doesn't even realize how awkward he's being because he's just genuinely excited to see her, which is pretty cool. I think you're shooting Lauren a little too much bail. Just a
Oh,
little bit. I
okay.
think by the end of the date,
Mm.
everything you said applies. I
Yeah.
get it. But man, it took a while to get there.
We gotta
Lauren's a
eat.
certain Lauren's making in 2023. Lauren's making lists about places you can't take her on the first date.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? She's just doing that. It's the jump in there and get me a lobster.
Mm-hmm.
You mean please? You mean that should be a good idea? It's the ghosting him for the date. I know that's after.
That's after, we ain't
All
you
right, all
can't
right,
include that. You can't include that
all
because
right.
I
I can't include that. I can't include that. I can't
after
include
this
that.
date.
Give me the quarter. She taking the picture. She did let him get in one, and I think that was the moment when she was like, "All right, let me see what's going on." Because there's no way, if I'm not mistaken, Junior said he was gone for 12 and a half hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't want to spend 2 to 3 hours is a lot for people I love.
Yeah.
12 and a half for one person.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, Rachel. You got to be feeling them.
Y'all are having a good ass time because consider what we know of Lauren. She's a little bit of a bitch. The
Mm-hmm.
nigga that her ex, this is a big buff. I would say maybe a football player. Um, on the vineyard. Um, there is just a difference, and probably that nigga ain't taking you out low key. He gonna come smash because your mama gone, but y'all ain't out doing things, and so there is a level of one. I'm already kind of a bitch, and I have this expectation because you should be happy to want to be with me. But also, I'm going to take a little bit of advantage because I know I'm not getting that over here. So I'm going to
I can
manipulate
see that.
the situation a little.
Okay. Okay. I
It's
see
not
that. Now
right, but
I see that. I see that. Now the most important part about this scene is it's our first full-fledged moment to realize, oh, this nigga Drew cool.
yeah.
He a cool dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's not any of this. He's so far from that racing home on his bike,
Mm-hmm.
talking to Iago in his bag.
Yeah.
Like, he's connecting with her. He's having real conversation. You see the way his brain works. Do you think about things that you think we from different planets or all this other stuff? Like, it's just, everybody likes learning something new, especially from someone that they might be interested in. So that was most important. And right after that, when he gets home, I want to shout out Drew for this too. And this is another week in the books conversation. Shout out to Mo and Spike once again. This is
Hey, fellas.
I think they recently just were talking about how, as Black men, or it might have been one of the older episodes, one of those first symbols of being a man is losing your virginity.
Mm-hmm.
And how many women you've been with. We all have that. We talked about it in an ATL episode, Big Boy's character, which we always call Big Boy's character because we can never remember his name in that movie. But when he sees that, you doing something? You doing something? Like, come on, you ain't doing nothing. Everybody got the uncle that see him. Boy, what you doing? You doing something with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it's symbolized. Drew was so confused as to why Junior was so obsessed with that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I'm not even thinking about that, bro. I really like her. I want to get to know her. And I just thought that was
young.
I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, because at that age, I'm trying to stick and move. Like, but it wasn't. Yeah,
You
I'm
want
trying
to
to
start
something.
something.
He was just so shocked. Look at Junior's response. Like, man, we got to work on that, getting her legs open and stuff. Like, bro, what you talking about? I ain't trying to do that.
And I gotta tell the fellas, that's kind of one of the things that bothered me, but I know that it was realistic. Oh, we gotta tell the fellas, that you did
Right.
this. Why?
Can I give you a story real quick?
Sure. I love stories.
So I won't say how. My first sexual experience, it wasn't. I don't know what virginity is at this point. I don't know if it's like penetration or before. This wasn't penetration, but it's a step before. My first like real big sexual experience. I'll never forget. Shout out to my nigga Goody, because after the deed was done, I was with Good and my other boy who's still family, my brother. No name, no blame.
Okay.
But I told them too, and no name, no blame. By the time that I swear within the hour, this is pre-social media, within the hour. Oh, girl hit me up like, fuck you, because I told two people. But one person just went
crazy with it.
To this day. First time. Okay, super young. High school, but super young. To this day. Never been a kiss and tell nigga. Nope. Won't do it. Won't say it. That moment right there, at that very young age, let me know. This is not the way to do it.
For sure.
Don't nobody want their business in the streets. Don't nobody good. Whether things are good, whether they bad, no matter how they end it, it's between me and you. I ain't never gonna put you out there. You ain't put me out there. There's a certain respect about it.
Yeah.
This movie reminds me of that. Like, this is exactly why I hated what happened, nigga. Fuck you, nigga.
Yeah.
That ain't your business.
Oh my God. Is the Inkwell the wood?
Oh shit. Come on, don't do this to me right now. Don't do this to me right now.
Not just a prequel.
Don't do this to me right now, because you on to something. You on to something, man. What's your next scene?
Yeah.
I guess it's my scene, ain't it? Because I was talking about your scene.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Kenny and Spencer playing tennis.
Yes, that's my next scene.
Comic relief right in the middle of the movie. Kenny hit him with the famous Fresh Prince breakout Lucille, the oldest con in the game. Oh, I don't really know how to play. Now I'm whipping your ass. Also told him, I didn't tell you I didn't know how to play. I told you I didn't want to play.
That's it.
You just thought because of who I am that I could play this cracker ass game, in the words of Kenny. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're playing 1v1 and hoop. I don't care if you're playing 2K. I don't care if you're playing spades. Once you start losing, shit start getting personal.
Absolutely.
It starts getting personal. Like, it's out. The gloves are off. It don't matter. Call that nigga fake Black Panther. You ran, you information officer. You ran the fucking copy machine.
Yeah.
By giving yourself fancy titles. Your wife. This is my variation of what Kenny said. Your wife ain't got dick down good since the 60s, nigga. So stop talking to me about screws.
That's
the
what
punches them punches had to land. Like, they had to fly. There's a certain moment where you reach where, all right, we had to have a physical conversation.
Yeah.
We gotta have a physical conversation. And that's what it came to. Even the sisters arguing about whose man could whoop whose man ass. Like, Brenda was she genuinely laughed. I know you don't think this nigga could beat Kenny up.
But when you be Delulu like that,
and yeah, she gonna stand by. I'm gonna stand beside him.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
Yeah, man. And Glenn Turman, the comedic, him after he gets punched and him still cussing him out with his hand over his mouth. I thought that was hilarious. One of my biggest fears, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I'm so genuine when I say this. This is why I still go to the gym. One of my biggest fears in life is being lifted off my feet as a grown man. And I'm not joking. Like, the idea of being helpless, if I'm into something and if I get lifted off my feet, that means I have no control. That would never happen. That happened in this scene, and every time I see it, I think about that fear that I have. And that nigga said he had a brown belt. I thought that shit was hilarious.
The only
what the fuck is a brown belt?
Closet.
What the fuck is a brown belt? Why are you bragging about that?
It's right before black. That is too funny. Yeah. My next scene is Kenny and Brenda making up just because. Come on, Black love.
Hey, Rachel.
Yes.
Rachel.
Come see about
Before
me.
Sheila, before before Sheila drove up that mountain, Brenda walked on that beach. Niggas saving their marriage, you know what I mean?
Hey, come on. This is worth fighting for. That same beach that Kenny ran away from her on, Brenda had to take a walk, and we see who was doing the chasing now. Baby, I'm coming
Mm-hmm.
to see about you. Let's fix this. We got to get it
Mm-hmm.
back. I love that.
I love the vulnerability and the pain that
Ab-
comes with being in love. It was
Absolutely.
on full display. I think the reason that scene is beautiful because they both genuinely wanted it to work. They lost themselves somewhere and they didn't know how to get back to it.
Yeah.
Like I want to get back here, but I don't want to be so far gone that we can't. But
Mhm.
how do we start? Um,
And
and Brenda, go ahead.
you touched on it sort of at the top. Raising kids is hard already. Consider,
Mm-hmm.
and we said that the error isn't a huge factor in the movie, and it could be even now, but consider what they're coming off of, maybe the lives that they were living through the 60s and early 70s leading up to 1976. They're very different. Even Brenda even touched on the point, like, where the world is different, we're different, we're not the
Mm-hmm.
same, but we know that we love each other. But how do we figure this out? And then, in the midst of trying to keep ourselves together, we got this kid burning the damn house down. Like,
Right.
it's a lot of factors into us not being connected. And even if there wasn't, dealing with somebody, being married, I'm not married, obviously, never been married. I've dealt with some niggas, I tell you. But being connected with somebody for an extended amount of time is hard. It is really, really work. It's not easy because if you, as a human, the expectation is for you to evolve, for you to grow. So we got a problem if we're not growing, if we're stagnant. And then we have a problem if we're growing too far apart and not doing anything to make sure that we're still connected. So just shout out to them for working that thing out, or at least even being committed to trying to figure it out to work it out.
Mm-hmm. That was very well said, Rachel. Very well said. I think that's probably everybody's biggest fear. Like,
Mhm.
am I going to be able to grow with my person?
Yeah,
Because we are going to grow, but are we going
absolutely.
to be able to grow together? Or even
Absolutely.
if we don't understand each other to where we can still work this out. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that desire for both parties to still want it
Yeah,
and like reclaim their love and that reassurance.
that's it.
Did you ever stop think? Did you ever think that I stopped loving you? Like just that, like no, we in this, like we good. I still want to be with you. Next scene I have is Spencer and Kenny apologizing.
Mhm.
Um, because A, that's what grown, mature people do. Holding grudges. I know it's not necessarily everybody on this podcast strongest suit. Once again, no name, no blame. But
Fuck
it
it.
is good to have it out and being able to be like, you know what? I'm not even trying to carry this drama. I'm not trying to carry this weight. We good. I will admit, I think the fight helped.
Mhm.
I think sometimes you have to have
Sometimes you just
release
gotta do
that.
it. Yeah.
You got to release that to even get to the place where you're ready to apologize.
Mhm.
Or have some, whether it's physical, whether it's just some big argument, a la, why did I get married at the dinner table? Just
Yeah.
where it all comes out. You just have to get it out before you can work on reconciling it. And, obviously the famous Black Republicans can fight. They have to. This nigga had Richard Nixon on his wall, y'all. Like they just released the tapes of Reagan and Nixon talking about, just look it up, from 1971.
Crazy.
If you want to know what type of dude Nixon was, just look him
Wow.
up. So for for a black man in the 70s to have Richard Nixon on your wall, bro, you all the way gone. You was not a nigga's nigga at all.
Ate up
All the
real
way gone.
quick.
For sure. For sure.
Um,
What you got next, Ray?
I've got Drew trying to warn Heather about Harold being out here, and then
Mm-hmm.
obviously getting into Drew fucking with Harold's car and him having to get out because I love making niggas pay.
Hey, Drew was a genius.
Smart as a
You
whip.
not even you're not even from here, my nigga. How did you know how to maneuver all of this?
How did you sort
Like where'd you
resources
get?
all of this with no money?
Yeah, like he's resourceful. Listen, Drew's resourceful,
Shout out to Drew.
smart, resourceful, all of that. Yeah, that was always a great scene because how you gonna cheat on AJ Johnson?
Come on.
And he was wild. Listen, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it, Rachel.
Yeah.
It's interesting doing research for this film.
Okay.
Um, nobody seems to want to talk about it. Nobody seems to want to talk about it. And I'm going to try to be very, very careful. Try to be very, very careful and also very, very honest.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you haven't picked up, we're talking about Drew and Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Drew's 16.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old Heather is. How
Mm-hmm.
old are we expected to believe that she is, you think, Rachel?
Low key, they at least 30.
You think that old? I was thinking younger. I was thinking in the 20s for sure.
Okay, 27.
I was thinking younger, but that's cool.
Maybe the vineyard is small, but think they were also at Junior's parents' party at the house.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Listen, I don't know how old.
Them up just a little bit.
I don't know how old they were. And this isn't new ground. We discussed this on Juice.
Yeah, let's make them 25. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's an instance in Juice where Q was in high school and there's an older woman who's a nurse. He got a key to her apartment. There's, Rachel, you made the point of an ATL, Big Boy's character, dropping off women in high school. If you opened your eyes and paid attention when you were in high school, you probably saw some people who were older than what they should have been, dropping off, picking up,
for sure,
the whole nine.
For sure, experienced it myself.
Listen, I think these things happen and they're written in films because, unfortunately, it's a real thing that happens.
Yeah,
almost to the point where it's normalized, and it's not normal. I do think, and this is I'm about to get into the human of me because there's going to be some hypocrisy. I didn't take the scene as predatory.
Okay.
I don't know if I should have. I know what they were trying to do, and it was once again I was searching high and dry for the explanation and the thought process and all of this into it. Maybe it happened like this in his real life, but I think they tried to show it as some sweet way of Drew losing his virginity.
Coming of age.
I think Drew, yeah, and I think that Drew was old enough, mature enough to make that decision and be okay with it. Obviously, Heather's in a moment of vulnerability. She getting her lick back. Because let me tell you this.
That's a hell of a lick.
I expect. I'm not surprised if a nigga like Morris Chestnut get my girl. Right? You let a nigga like Drew hit. Now I'm through the roof. So Heather knew what she was doing, low key.
He don't get a nigga back like that.
You don't get a nigga back like that. Come on, man. Like, I know I'm moving dirty, but you done gave this little kid some. Come on. But I say that to say, if I was 16 and Heather was with it, I would have been with it.
Would have been with it.
I don't know. And I comfortably say that because of where, and don't get me wrong, as a grown man, it's easy to look back now and realize how emotionally immature I was to even be engaging in sexual activities at that age. There's a lot of emotional weight. You don't think about it at the time at all. But the older you get, you look back and you're like, damn, like that was a lot to be doing at 16, 17 and thinking that shit normal. That's
Mhm.
a lot of shit. I still would have done it. On the flip side, if this was a grown man and a 16-year-old girl,
Yeah.
I'd have lost my fucking mind. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it could be
It's
the same scenario. She could have the same. I would have lost my mind, and that's the hypocrisy
Mhm.
because of I'm a man. You looked at a certain way for getting at this woman.
I hear you.
It's
And
fucked up. It might be fucked up.
crazy that but I feel you too. And I struggle with this too, especially like now and having the information we have and having the language that we have now. I didn't look at it as assault either. I didn't look at
Yeah,
it as predatory either. Strange, absolutely.
strange for sure.
And I mean, shout out to Meg, this pussy depressed. But like, I get it.
Yo,
Niggas that have some sad ass sex. I get it. But also, I don't know if this broken, sad pussy is about to get wet for Drew. And I understand, yes, the chivalry. You looked out for me. You've been more of a man to me than my husband has been. You're not a man. You've been more of that to me than this nigga that I'm committed to. It's weird. And maybe because it wasn't an ongoing affair, like I didn't marry Kayla Turno this, you know? But it
hmm
is strange. And to your point, on the flip side, even as a teen who knew men in their 20s, that and the third, you know, the shit is fucking I don't it's not different, but it's different. And it's weird.
it's listen.
It's inappropriate both ways, but totally inappropriate the other way, you know, totally.
Yeah,
And I think maybe I don't want to say because men be predators, because obviously women are too, but I don't know. There was no coercion or manipulation in it. And I understand what they were saying. Like Drew literally became a man on the vineyard. You know, he grew up. We ain't see Iago past Dr. Wade's house. You know what I'm saying? That second time.
right.
He became a man, he put away childish things.
All right, what's that? First Corinthians. Oh man, yeah, that's in First Corinthians for sure. I quote that anytime somebody asks me to go out past 10 p.m.
You silly.
Straight up, man. Like, come on.
But I feel you. It's very crazy. And I like that I don't want to say I like that it was endearing, like if he was at least 18, I, it wouldn't really be
If he
any
was 18, it wouldn't have been an issue.
it wouldn't be an issue. But it is strange. He's a teenager, a young teenager at that.
You know what it reminded me of?
What?
Another fucked up situation on a different level. It reminded of how Mia described having sex with Harper.
Mm,
Just kind of that sweet. He was somebody I needed. He was there when I needed him. That
yeah,
type. Obviously, these are two completely different situations
for sure.
because
For
there
sure.
was no relationship between Heather and Drew.
Right.
Um, but I think we both said it. There wasn't anything. I think the reason that we have to bring this up in the first place is because it needs to be. You can't hear what you don't reveal. And we
Mhm,
can't keep hiding behind shit, acting like it doesn't happen when everybody knows it happens.
for
I
sure.
think it goes back to what I just said. Like, it's amazing to me that I couldn't find anybody related to this film who had a comment about that scene.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
there's no way you can put this out and not expect people to be like, huh. They
Straight.
did it it was very tasteful.
Mhm.
Like I said, it wasn't anything where I was like, this is predatory. Nobody was manipulated. Nobody did anything against their will. It was very consensual. very sweet,
Mm-hmm.
very, very odd. All I
Very,
want to say.
yeah,
Hopefully, nobody out there, because when you get to if Drew's 12, 11, 10, you have a whole different conversation and a whole different category of that conversation. So hopefully nobody's taken aback or offended. Um, but it did happen, and I didn't want to act like it didn't happen. And I
yeah,
think we are mature enough to have the conversation and
yeah.
give our thoughts on it. And honestly, we would love to hear your thoughts on it as well.
Very much so. Please jump in the
Because I
comments.
see both sides of it. You can, yeah, I say and do fucked up shit all the time. Like I'm aware that it's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't. This might be in that category. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I
Yeah.
just didn't. If I was 16, I'm
would
going.
love to hear people's response to that. Is this like your mama friend that fucked you low key? She ain't your mama friend, but she a auntie friend. Like I don't know.
Yeah, just some woman that said I'm gonna put it on you. Like if I'm out and I seen this, if I was 16, because I knew, and I've always been an old soul, but I knew I was very aware of every decision I made, good and bad.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
I did knucklehead 16-year-old shit. That's
Mhm.
not a knucklehead 16-year-old decision. That's I'm with it. I'm
Yeah.
with it. Like we make and like I said, not to make light of these situations, you see a large uptick of women teachers
Mhm.
having these inappropriate relationships with their high school students.
Yeah.
And you'll hear men, where was these women at when we was in high school?
Right.
I'm not saying it's right or whatever the case is. I'm just saying it's as I don't think you're gonna get too many. And we just praised Drew about not having that type of stuff on his mind.
Mhm.
He didn't force it. He didn't try to get her. He wasn't trying to game her. It just happened. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like that. So that's kind of all I got to say about it.
He pre-exposed his minor to sex. Now
And that's the harm of it. Like I
yeah.
said, this conversation we can have a whole nother episode about that itself.
Yeah.
Once again, another week in the books conversation. That's a whole
For
different.
sure.
There's a
For
whole another platform for stuff like that. But
yeah.
we didn't want to go without addressing it. I think the only other thing I had was the ending. Rachel, I don't know if you have any other scenes
No,
that you want to
that's
go
it
with.
on scenes.
Yeah,
Again,
him coming home, being out all night, not knowing. I mean, I remember the first time I was out all night. I got a different response. It wasn't as mournful, but just that moment where Kenny knew, like, give me a minute. Give me a
yeah.
minute. Like, you good? You all right? All right, cool. And what's understood ain't got to be said.
And I'm sure he smelled Heather on him just like Drew, just like Junior did.
Hey, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
That's a certain scent.
Yeah.
Hey, Junior grabbed that nigga hands and put it up to his nose. Come on, man. And I love the fact that Drew stood tall.
Yeah.
He telling you what happened? Like, nah, we good. He learned that lesson way earlier than I did. So, quotes. You got any quotes?
Yeah, but not a lot. Even though I feel like we've said quite a few, but just what's a clitoris? It's like a guitar string when you pluck it. Hello, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons to a young brother. Where's the Black Panther? I love that so much. And how you doing? Still a virgin? Just Junior being ridiculous. He was a common Harlem hoodlum killed by common Harlem hoodlums. Again, we talk about Spence being
ridiculous.
Hey now, just because I love a good catchphrase and consider the time. Hey now, and then Junior hitting that rerun earlier. So, and then just biddies and titties, just because that shit was funny.
Hell yeah. Biddies and titties are definitely on my list. You named a lot of mine. Mm-hmm. One was at that party, at the house party. Mm-hmm. Here she is. Oh, that's too nasty. But I can't help it. Do the doggy. He said, I can't help it. I'm nasty. Come on. Step right up, Huey. Just the little Black Panther Huey shots that he was throwing throughout the movie. And then, of course, the age-old classic from Henry. Mm-hmm. I ain't a man, huh? You wasn't saying all that last night.
Come on, Harold.
Hey, age-old classic.
Yeah.
Oh, Harry. My bad. Not Henry. Harry. Scene Stealer. This is an ensemble cast. So I personally have like my favorite
Mm-hmm.
actor and then my favorite like minor character. So I want to hear what you got.
Okay. Well, even just before that, I guess it's kind of related. Just in my random things, Glenn Turman and Joe Morton are so good together.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. And dare oh no. Um,
Uh-oh. What you about to say, man?
I might I might have to give Joe my scene stealer if I can.
Right, P.
Yeah.
That's why you my nigga, my nerve. Because Joe is, I wrote it down. Joe was my favorite performance in this
Yeah.
film, which is extremely, I think we emphasized already, that was
Mhm.
extremely hard to say because
Yeah.
everybody bodied what they were supposed to do in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everybody did. But Joe was my favorite performance. But my scene stealer, as far as
Mhm.
like just a more minor character,
Mhm.
Dwayne Martin.
Okay.
Dwayne Martin, man. I'm gonna give him some props.
You gonna give it to
If
him?
the more you watch it, the more you enjoy him.
Mhm.
I liked his character because Junior stereotypically should have been an asshole. He could have been that dickhead big cousin. I don't
Yeah.
want you with me. My mama told me you got to be around, but I ain't gonna like it. He could
Yeah.
have been that, but he was protective of him.
Mhm.
Even when he got like pushed at the party and he ran out, like Drew, like he wanted to make sure he came looking for him whenever he was lost.
Yeah.
He was very. It's hard to go visit a cousin that you haven't seen in 5 years
Mhm.
and haven't talked to. Like I said, this is pre-social media, pre-cell phones.
Yeah.
Like to be dropped in and expect y'all to be cool, and for Drew to be who he was, and for Junior to be on some, you know what? Fuck it, you cuz like it's all good.
Yeah.
Like you can do that weird shit with me. Like they found some common ground when Junior brought his girl up.
Mhm.
You hungry, ain't you? Ain't you hungry? Like the fact that Drew picked up on it.
Okay.
It took a little second, but he picked up on it. Yeah,
I
he could have easily been mean, but he wasn't. So I give him some props. I like that character. I
I
didn't like his friends. I thought they was lame,
yeah. Mo and Dirt.
but they were also 16. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. With that, I might go ahead and say Mary Alice as Grandma Evelyn.
Mm.
She is a quiet force. Everything that she said, her dismissal and immediate shade of Brenda when they first got to the vineyard, her dismissal and shade towards Kenny, even when she finally did get on Francis's ass, like you know how she is. When she finally was able to have a breakthrough with Brenda, Brenda, I love you. When she clearly saw that her daughter was really struggling. Um,
Hmm.
I might say I might have to give it to Mary Alice just because she's a quiet force, almost like a Nicole Bahari, like just in that quiet, strong energy.
I like that comp. I like that comp. Yeah, that's a good choice. That's a good choice. I'm not mad at it at all. Things
Mhm.
that bother you. I got a couple things. Let's keep
Um,
right into the same thing that
go ahead.
I was. Let's keep it to the right same thing. There's no real discussion about Brenda and her mother's issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's there. Grading someone with "you're looking fat" is insane. Um,
Black Mama 101. Mhm.
right, come here, baby, and just there's a little bit of heartbreak you have when her arms are out. I'm like, not you, my real baby, my little baby, whatever. There's something there, and just for it to be with that Brenda, I love you.
Mhm.
Once again, maybe it's what's understood doesn't need to be said, but I would love to know a little bit more about that. Even though we get it, I get it. It happens. It's a black mama, black daughter type of thing. I understand. Um, we never meet Geechee Gale.
I would
I
have
really
loved to.
wanted to know yeah, I would have loved to see Geechee Gale. And the last thing was this nigga only took one lobster. Like you go all the way down there and only grab one lobster. Like that bothered me. Like, you supposed to take a few of them, bro.
And do what with them?
Eat them. What you talking about? Sell them, flip them. I don't know. Shit, something. If I'm going 30 feet underwater and I can't swim, I'm getting more than one lobster.
How many was in the trap?
Who knows?
It was you going back.
You can't tell me that was the last lobster. Nigga, you can grab a few.
Might have been. That is too funny because now I got to go back and see how many was in that trap. Um, Drew getting pushed at the dance just because nigga keep your hands off me. And then Drew sitting on Lauren's porch all night, like I'm not sitting there from sun up to sundown. Like I'm gonna have to leave. I'm not staying here all night. That was really it for me. And again, maybe just no, that's it. That's it for me. I love this shit.
How I don't know if this is come see about me, but I just want to ask you, how much credit does Drew get for going to get that lobster? She said she wanted a lobster. He said he ain't got the bread. She told him where to get the lobster.
Yeah.
And the nigga got the lobster.
It's not a come see about me, but it's definitely a show and prove. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
show and prove.
yeah, go ahead and step for
It's
me.
impressive.
It's
It's
impressive.
impressive.
It's impressive.
Okay.
I do have one thing that bothers me. On the beach, initially, when we first truly meet Lauren and Drew, it's like you working on your pirouette and you gotta leap and kick it. You can't, that's not the same thing. That was only my only thing just as a former in my former life dancer.
Understood.
Like, no, a pirouette is a
Appreciate
turn and a leap is a jump. You don't leap into a pirouette turn. That's all.
I appreciate that technical insight. You know, we love it. We love it.
Many lives, people, many lives.
Any actors from The Wire? Absolutely. Glenn Turman,
Glenn,
the
duh.
incredible, yeah, Mayor Clarence Royce in The Wire,
Mhm.
incredible character. For those of you wondering, yeah, that's the only dude from The Wire. Absolutely, there is not. There's one more person who was in The Wire that's in this film. Her name is Stacey Davis. She's one of the girls at the party. When Drew comes up and says his little line, and they ask if you're waiting for the bus. I don't know if that's her that said it, but I believe she's in that group. She played Miss Duquette in season 4 of The Wire. That's the season with the kids, as everybody says. They had the special classroom with the corner kids, and she was one of the assistants, the teachers in there observing them. So that's who she played in that show. So she was also in The Wire. Stop playing with me about this Wire shit, y'all. I really do this. I'm wired down, top to bottom. Greatest show of all time. Wouldn't let that happen to me. Rachel, you got anything?
I already said it.
Okay. Oh, my fault. I thought that was things that bothered me. Wouldn't let that happen to me is definitely I'm not getting mush in the face for a dance. I don't think you can. You might necessarily be able to control somebody putting their hands on you, but it's not ending at that, bro.
Yeah.
It's not ending at that at all. And as a good Reverend Jeezy has recently reminded y'all, you know, real niggas don't cheat. Shout out to Reverend Jeezy. He's going on his run. He's letting y'all know real niggas don't cheat. So not a cheater. But if I were to live that life, I'm not running around town like Harry.
Yeah.
Just recklessly.
Yeah.
Like this is Martha's Vineyard, bro. This is not that large.
Not that big. I wrote that down like in my random things. Like Harold was so bold. You on a new beach. That one, okay. A little secluded. The audience was a little bit different. Niggas ain't really coming out there. You know, maybe some white tourists. But just walking around town where everybody can see you and everybody knows who you are and everybody knows your wife. Bold as hell. Ridiculous.
Super bold. Super bold. Trivia. We already talked about Trey Ellis hating this film. Denouncing it, the whole nine. It was to the point where he had his name replaced on the final version with the fictitious name of Tom Riccostranza. Riccostranza is Italian for rich bitch. So he wanted his name off of it and used that as a
pseudonym.
You know, fake identity. Fake identity. You already mentioned the different world connection and your whole 6 degrees of separation, 3 degrees, however you want to call it. As far as Lorenz Tate being cast for this film, Jada was already cast, and she was friends with Lorenz and called him and said, "Hey, like let's work on our lines together because I know they're gonna screen you with me. Let's go ahead and do it." He went in there and he told her like, "We don't even really need to practice. Like, just follow my lead and we'll just play off each other because we know each other." Killed it, obviously. what really was the deciding factor is the studio could not believe that this is the same dude that played O-Dog. Like the fact that you play O-Dog and you can do this, like you're hired. Lorenz Tate, all the flowers, man. Like they offered this, they were so impressed they offered him on the spot. So that's pretty much it for trivia. We get to the end of the episode. One of our longer episodes, right, P? We really love this movie. Get to the end of the episode. The average viewer rates this film.
Don't piss me off.
Oh, you about to be pissed. 6.3 out of 10. We both know it's too low. So let's go ahead and what you got, Rachel?
8-1.
7-9.
Okay.
7-9. 7-9. So man, listen, y'all. This is one of those episodes that reminds me why we do this.
Absolutely.
One of those you can just have so many layers. A la your Eve's by You, a la your If Beale Street Could Talks. There's so much more than just a film.
Yeah.
We could have had another 2 hours if we structured it that way. But we're not going to do that. We gave y'all a lot. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, for watching, for listening. We will never take that for granted. We'll never, not take an opportunity to remind y'all of that. Thank you. Shout out to School. Shout out to him on his anniversary.
Anniversary, School.
School's School's Guilty Pleasures. We got y'all. It's coming back this week. Please make sure you're subscribed to that. Please make sure you are sharing with a friend. Shout out to our good brethren over there at Another Week in the Books.
Shout out to y'all.
Conversation.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, the fact that they even inspired this pick was pretty dope. Even though you danced around with Inkwell for quite some time. Yeah. Love this movie. And I think this episode pretty much relays that. So thank you, Ray P, as always, for being the GOAT and just being you. I love you as always. For everybody out there listening, we love y'all. We will see y'all next week. Y'all be cool. How y'all be cool.
Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
We out.